Have you ever found yourself questioning whether your well-meaning visits to friends or family are truly appreciated? You walk into someone's home with the best of intentions, expecting warmth and connection, but leave feeling like you may have overstayed your welcome. Maybe you've noticed a hesitation in their voice or a slight discomfort in their expression. It's not that they don't love you. It's just that, as we grow older, our needs and boundaries shift. If you're in your 60s or beyond, it's important to be mindful of when, where, and how you visit others. What may seem like a kind gesture to you might not always be received the way you expect. Life changes, and so do relationships. Some people need more personal space, while others might feel overwhelmed by frequent visits. Understanding these unspoken social rules can help keep your connection strong and meaningful. In today's conversation, we're going to talk about 4 types of people you should think twice about visiting after 60. Not because you don't care about them, but because respecting boundaries is one of the most important ways to show love. Relationships thrive when we understand each other's needs, and sometimes that means giving people the space they need to breathe. Now, before we dive in, I'd love to know, where are you tuning in from? Comment below and share your city. I always enjoy hearing from you. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more tips like these. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming up next. 1. Avoid visiting old friends unannounced. Friendships are some of the most valuable relationships we have, especially as we grow older. The memories, the laughter, and the support we've given each other over the years make these bonds priceless. But no matter how strong a friendship is, one thing remains true: everyone needs their personal space. When we were younger, it was easy to drop by a friend's house without thinking twice. Maybe we'd knock on their door, sit for a cup of coffee, and spend hours chatting. But as life changes, so do people's routines. Friends who once welcomed spontaneous visits may now have different needs. They might have developed new habits, enjoy more quiet time, or simply prefer a structured day. Walking in without notice can make them feel obligated to entertain, even when they're not in the right frame of mind for company. Think about it. How would you feel if you were in the middle of something important, finally enjoying some alone time, and suddenly someone showed up at your door expecting a long conversation? Even if you love that person, the unexpected visit could feel like an interruption rather than a joyful moment. Take the story of Jennifer and Kate, 2 women who had been best friends for decades. They had been through everything together: weddings, children, loss, and retirement. For years, they had an open-door policy, always visiting each other whenever they pleased. But as time passed, Kate started valuing her quiet time more. She enjoyed her books, her walks, and her peaceful afternoons. One day, Jennifer dropped by unannounced, expecting the usual warm welcome. Kate, however, was in the middle of handling personal matters, and although she smiled and invited Jennifer in, there was an unspoken tension in the air. Jennifer left feeling like something had changed. It wasn't that Kate didn't care, it was just that her needs had shifted. A simple text or phone call beforehand could have given Kate the chance to prepare, ensuring the visit was a positive one for both of them. So, what's the solution? It's simple. Always check in before visiting. A quick call or message allows both people to prepare, setting the stage for a warm, comfortable interaction. It's not about creating distance. It's about respecting each other's time and energy. Friendships don't require constant physical presence to stay strong. In fact, being thoughtful about when and how you visit can strengthen them even more. Instead of just showing up, try planning a time to meet, whether it's at their home, a coffee shop, or a park. That way, both of you can enjoy each other's company without any unspoken pressure. If you've ever had a friend drop by unexpectedly when you weren't in the mood for company, you know how it feels. Or maybe you've been the one to show up unannounced, only to realize it wasn't the best timing. If that's ever happened to you, let me know in the comments. How did you handle it? 2. Avoid visiting relatives too often. Family is one of the greatest blessings in life. We spend years building relationships with our siblings, cousins, children, and extended family members, believing that the more time we spend together, the closer we'll be. But as we age, we start to realize something important. Constant visits don't always strengthen relationships. In some cases, they can actually make things feel strained. When we were younger, family gatherings were full of life. Parents hosted Sunday dinners, cousins ran around playing, and everyone looked forward to spending time together. But as time goes on, people's priorities change. Your children may now have their own families and responsibilities. Your siblings may be adjusting to a quieter, more independent lifestyle. What once felt like an open invitation to drop by any time may now feel like an unspoken burden. Take Paul's story as an example. Paul, a 64-year-old retired man, was excited to spend more time with his family after decades of working long hours. He assumed his relatives would feel the same way, so he started dropping by his son's house often. He'd bring food, share stories, and stay for hours. At first, his son welcomed the visits, but over time, Paul began to notice subtle signs. His daughter-in-law seemed distracted, his grandkids were busy with their activities, and his son often looked at the clock. One day, his son gently told him, "Dad, we love having you here, but sometimes we just need time for ourselves." Paul felt heartbroken at first. He had always believed that families should spend as much time together as possible. But after reflecting on it, he realized that giving his son's family space didn't mean they loved him any less. It just meant they had their own lives to manage. So, what can we learn from this? It's important to respect the space of our family members. Instead of visiting frequently without asking, try calling ahead and seeing when they're available. If they seem busy or overwhelmed, understand that it's not about you. It's about their personal needs. Another thing to consider is finding new ways to stay connected. Instead of long in-person visits, try short phone calls, video chats, or even sending a thoughtful message now and then. A simple "thinking of you" text can be just as meaningful as an in-person visit. You can also suggest planned outings, meeting for lunch, going for a walk, or even scheduling a weekly family call. Family bonds don't weaken just because you're not constantly visiting. In fact, giving each other breathing room can actually make your time together more special. When visits are planned and welcomed, they become moments to cherish rather than obligations to endure. Have you ever felt like a family member was visiting too often and you didn't know how to tell them? Or have you been in Paul's position, feeling hurt by a loved one's request for space? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear how you handled it. 3. Avoid visiting siblings without a clear reason. Siblings share a bond like no other. They are the people who have known you the longest, who grew up alongside you, and who understand your history in a way no one else can. Because of this deep connection, it's easy to assume that visiting them anytime should feel natural. But as life moves forward, relationships with siblings change, and so do their needs. When we were younger, family gatherings were often centered around our parents. Holidays, birthdays, and Sunday dinners were part of the rhythm of life. But as we get older and parents pass away, the dynamic between siblings starts to shift. Without the parents as the central connection, some siblings naturally drift apart, while others struggle to maintain the same closeness they once had. Take the Martin family, for example. They were 5 siblings who spent their entire childhood doing everything together. Their parents' home was always full of laughter, shared meals, and long conversations. But after their parents passed, things changed. At first, they tried to keep the tradition alive, but over time, the gatherings became less frequent. Greg, the eldest sibling, took the lead in organizing family get-togethers, but he started noticing that some of his siblings were less enthusiastic about meeting as often. One day, when asked why the family wasn't as close as before, Greg gave a simple but painful answer. "We only got together because Mom and Dad were here. Now, everyone has their own life." This isn't a sign that love has disappeared. It's just a natural part of growing older. Siblings now have their own families, responsibilities, and personal routines. Just like with friends and children, dropping by unannounced or expecting constant meetups can sometimes feel overwhelming rather than comforting. So, what's the best approach? Be intentional about when and why you visit your siblings. Instead of assuming they'll always be available, check in first. Ask if they'd like to meet up or plan an activity together. And most importantly, understand that even if they don't see you as often, it doesn't mean they don't care. One of the best ways to stay connected with siblings is through planned communication. Instead of frequent visits, consider a weekly or monthly phone call. If they live far away, a video chat or even a handwritten letter can be a wonderful way to keep the bond alive without disrupting their routine. Also, accept that some relationships evolve differently. Some siblings remain close throughout life, while others naturally develop more distance. That's okay. The most important thing is to respect where your relationship stands and not force something that doesn't feel natural. Have you noticed a change in your relationship with your siblings as you've grown older? Do you feel like you see them less than you'd like? Or maybe you prefer having more space between visits? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know how your sibling relationships have evolved over the years. 4. Avoid visiting the homes of overly tidy people too often. Everyone has their own way of keeping their home. Some people don't mind a little mess here and there, while others take great pride in maintaining a perfectly organized and spotless space. If you've ever walked into someone's home and felt like everything was placed just right, chances are you know someone who values tidiness on a deep level. For these individuals, their home is more than just a living space. It's their sanctuary. For older adults, especially those who live alone, home is often the one place where they feel completely in control. It's where they find peace, order, and a sense of stability. If you have a friend or family member like this, you may have noticed that they get a little anxious when things are out of place. It's not because they don't want visitors. It's just that unexpected company can feel like a disruption to their carefully maintained environment. Take Ryan's story as an example. Ryan, now in his late 60s, has always been someone who likes things just so. His home is spotless, his furniture is arranged exactly the way he likes it, and everything has its place. His routine is built around keeping his space neat, not because he's obsessed with cleanliness, but because it gives him a sense of calm. One day, his cousin Amanda dropped by unannounced. She wasn't trying to be inconsiderate. She just figured she'd pop in for a quick chat. But in the short time she was there, she accidentally knocked over a bottle of lotion in the bathroom and left her coffee cup on the table with a little ring of moisture underneath. To Amanda, these were tiny things, hardly noticeable, but to Ryan, it felt like an invasion of his peaceful space. He didn't say anything at the time, but after she left, he couldn't shake the feeling of discomfort. Now, does this mean Ryan didn't love Amanda? Not at all. He just had a different way of living, one that required his surroundings to be calm and in order. If Amanda had called ahead, Ryan could have prepared himself for the visit. Or better yet, they could have met somewhere else, a coffee shop, a park, or a restaurant, where he wouldn't feel like his space was being disturbed. So, what's the takeaway here? Be mindful of how people feel about their homes. If you know someone who is very particular about their space, consider finding other ways to connect with them. Instead of dropping by unannounced, invite them out for coffee or a walk. And if you do visit, make sure to respect their environment. Keep things tidy, be considerate of their routines, and don't stay longer than they seem comfortable with. At the end of the day, relationships are about understanding and respect. Not everyone has the same comfort level when it comes to visitors, and that's okay. The best way to maintain strong, healthy connections is by recognizing what makes the people around us feel comfortable and adjusting accordingly. Have you ever had someone visit your home and unknowingly disrupt your space? Or have you ever been in Ryan's position, feeling uncomfortable but unsure how to say it? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one. As we get older, our relationships become even more important. But keeping them healthy doesn't always mean being physically present all the time. In fact, the key to maintaining meaningful connections often comes down to respecting boundaries, understanding changing needs, and finding new ways to stay connected. Today, we talked about 4 types of visits that might need to be reconsidered after 60. None of this means you should stop seeing the people you care about. It simply means being more intentional about how and when you visit. Instead of showing up unannounced, plan a time together. Instead of expecting frequent gatherings, appreciate the moments you do get. And most importantly, understand that giving space isn't the same as growing distant. It's a way of showing love and respect. If you take one thing away from this conversation, let it be this. Healthy relationships are built on understanding. When you take the time to recognize what makes others comfortable, your interactions become more enjoyable and stress-free. It's not about the quantity of time you spend together, but the quality of that time. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever experienced a situation where you had to adjust how often you visit someone? How do you personally balance staying connected while respecting people's space? Let me know in the comments below. I'm really interested in your experiences. And if you found this discussion helpful, Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more conversations like this. Your support helps keep these important discussions going. Thank you for your time today. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.